So students, please make sure, just like my other video, that you have completed step 1, part 1 in Canvas first, and that you have printed out the page to go along with this if you are able to. And the formula we will be using for this section of the notes is on your star chart. We will talk more about what the letters mean. That's the hardest part of the formula. Okay, students, if you were able to print out this notes page from Canvas, great. Remember, if you couldn't print it out, you can always look at the key online. Just follow along with this video the best you can right now. Do your work on a scratch sheet of paper. So now we're moving on to rectangular prisms. We have learned how to calculate area of rectangles and parallelograms. Remember, a rectangle is just a special parallelogram and a square is just a special rectangle. Those are 2D shapes. When we go into 3D, a rectangle becomes a rectangular prism and a square becomes a cube. And we don't calculate area of a 3D shape. We can do surface area or we can do volume. And today we're going to look at volume. In 6th grade, we only calculate volume for rectangular prisms and cubes. So when we're talking volume, we are looking at the amount of space a 3D object occupies. Just like area, is measured in unit squares, or square units, volume is measured in cubes. Because if you think about a 3D square, now you have a cube. To count volume, sometimes we pack the figure with unit cubes. They might not all be visible, but when you were younger, that's how you looked at volume a lot of the times. As you get older, we don't always have the cubes where we can see in our pictures. Sometimes we're given measurements, and then sometimes we're given the volume and we have to work backwards. So if we look at these 3 shapes, we're labeling the length, width, and height of each figure. The first shape is 2-dimensional. It's just a square on a grid. So this one really only has length and width. We can count the squares. It's 5 squares long, 5 squares high. It's a 2D shape. However, if we look at this next one, we have 4 squares long, 4 squares wide, and 1 square high. This would be a rectangular prism. This next shape, we have 2 squares wide, 4 squares long, and then 2 squares high. And I wish I had you guys in class because we could build some prisms with cubes, but we've just got to do the best we can right now. So here's some more prisms for us to label. Let's do the first one together. So we're looking at problem number 1. The height of this prism we can see. Remember, we're counting the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 units high, 2 units wide, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units long. So if we wanted to calculate how many cubes we used, if you look at just the bottom layer, it's 2 wide, 5 long. That's 10, but then we have 4 layers. So if we do 10 times 4, that's 40 cubes long. Okay, I want you guys to pause right here and try 2 and 3 on your own. Okay, hopefully you were able to figure out those 2. So if we're looking at question 2 really quickly, you should have counted the height as 3 units. The width and the length are also 3 because this is a cube. So when we look at the total cubes, if we multiply 3 times 3 times 3, it would take 27 cubes to make this figure. For question 3, your height was 2 cubes. Your width is just 1 and your length is 3. Now if you switched the length and width and you put 3 and 1, honestly it does not matter. So if we're looking at the total cubes, this one's really easy to see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes in this shape. Okay, now to get to the actual formula. So when we're talking about the formula we use for volume of a rectangular prism, and it actually works for any type of prism, and you will learn about different types later, we are going to find the area of the base, which is represented by a big B, and we multiply that by the height of the object. Now, the way they write this is honestly a little confusing. So volume is big B times H. I know we just learned about area, which is base times height, but notice that's a little b. We used to teach volume as length times width times height, but the formula changes. You're going to have trapezoidal prisms later. You're going to have triangular prisms later. So if we can learn it this way, it will continue and be the same throughout high school and junior high. So it is a little confusing, but this is the way that we're going to learn it. So volume is big B times little h. Big B equals the area of the base shape. So in 6th grade, the base shape will always be a rectangle or a square. It will change, like I said, as you get older. And that's why we don't want to just say length times width times height, because that works for a rectangular prism, but not all prisms. If it helps you this year to use length times width times height, you can use it, but just remember you're going to have to change it up as you get older. So let's look at the shape here. Our formula is area equals, I'm so sorry, we're not doing area. Volume equals big B times little h. So if we're thinking about this picture right here, we can't see the base, but I'm going to try to sketch it in. So if we could see through this shape, the base would be a rectangle just like what we see on top here. So when we're looking at big B, we want to find the area of this rectangular base, and the area of a rectangle is base times height. So if we were just looking at this pink part as the rectangle that it is and only thinking about finding the area of that pink part, we have sides of 9 and 6. So the area of the base would be 6 times 9, or 54. So for big B, we're going to use 54. And then we're going to multiply that with the height of the prism, which is 4 centimeters. So our volume is going to be 54 times 4, which is 216 cubic centimeters, or 216 centimeters cubed. Now I'm going to show you one more picture that I have that might help you with how to look at this formula a little more. So this is just another thing to help you understand what the formula is. If we want the volume of a prism, it's big B times H. The big B is the area of the base, so that's the highlighted yellow part of this shape. If we wanted the area of that rectangle that is the base, we would use the little red B and H dimensions, multiply, and get that area. To find the volume, we are now going to use the area of the base and multiply it by the height of the prism, which would be the blue H.